As I also teach final year students in my medical college, so today I'm going to teach you the ECG, how to interpret and read ECG. My name is Dr. Namfez and I'm President Cardiology as well. I have practical experience in the field of medicine for last 7 to 8 years. So today I'll teach you how to interpret and read ECG if you are final year student, 4th year student, and even if you are house officer, this video is gonna help you. So let's start. Whenever you are looking at the ECG, first of all, you have to see the P wave. If you can see the P wave on the ECG, it means the rhythm is sinus and it is coming from the sinus node. There is no other source. Then you have to look at the shape of the P wave. If the shape of the P wave is same in each and every lead and everywhere, then it means there is no other source than the sinus node that is located in the right atrium. If the patient is having different P wave morphology, then it means there are different foci located in the right atrium, or else here the signals are coming from different foci for that electrical activity of the heart. So ECG is basically, it interprets the electrical activity of the heart, and we know that there is SA node, then AV node, then right bundle branch, then left bundle branch, and then there are the Purkinje fibers. After you know that what is ECG, what is electrical activity of the heart and how does it flows, then you must know what are the leads. So there are limb leads and chest leads. Then we have a mnemonic to attach limb leads. We start from the right arm, that is read your green book. Then red lead we attach to the right arm, then yellow to left arm, green to the left foot, and the black one to the right foot. And we can attach these leads, limb leads anywhere from the shoulder to the wrist, and similarly from the buttock area to the ankle area. If we have to attach the limb leads above the ankle area. Then about the chest leads, we always have 6 chest leads, V1 to V6. V1 we attach it to the right 4th intercostal space, V2 to the left 4th intercostal space, then V4 in the mid-axillary line in the 5th intercostal space, then V3 we attach it in between V2 and V4, then V5 in the anterior axillary line in the same horizontal space in the 5th intercostal space as it is V4. Then V6 we attach it in the mid-axillary line and the 5th intercostal space. Once we are done with attaching these ECG limb leads and chest lead, you must know that V1 to V4 shows the anterior wall of myocardium. V1 to V4 anteroseptal and anterior area, then 1 AVL, V5 to V6 lateral part of the heart, then inferior part of the heart is shown by 2, 3 AVL. If you know the part which leads can show which part of the heart on the ECG, you would be able to locate the pathologies. If the patient is coming with the MI, you can say where is the ST elevation, which leads and which part of the heart is having MI at the present state. So once you know these limb leads, you know how to attach and you know how to read the ECG, you are all done. So for ECG, we said that we must know the P wave. Once we know the P wave and what's the morphology of the P wave, and if it is same, then it means that it is coming from the sinus node. Then we have to see either each P wave in each lead is followed by the QRS complex. If each P wave is followed by each QRS complex, it means the electrical activity is normal. Then you have to look at the P, after P to QRS, then you have to look at the rate. For rate, you have to count the number of large boxes between 2 R to R interval. If the R to R interval is regular, it means in each and every lead, everywhere, it means the patient is having regular rhythm. If R to R interval is not regular, it means the patient ECG is showing irregular rhythm. Once you know the rhythm, then you can calculate the rate by calculating the large box in between the 2 R to R interval. One large box between 2 R to R leads shows the heart rate is 300. 2 large boxes between R to R interval mean 150. If there is 3 large boxes, then the heart rate is 100. 4 large boxes between R to R, it means 75. 5 large boxes between R to R interval, the heart rate is 60. And then if it is 6 large boxes, then the heart rate is 50. And if it is 7 large boxes, then the heart rate comes to 42. So that in this way, you keep on calculating the heart rate. If the patient heart rate is less than 60, patient is having bradycardia. You have to look for, if the patient is taking beta blocker, calcium channel blocker, or any other drugs, the digoxin or any other that can lower the patient heart rate. If the patient is having the tachycardia, sinus tachycardia, then you can see if the patient is febrile, having some respiratory issue, or is there any other cause that is responsible for the sinus tachycardia. We rule out underlying causes for that. Once you know the rate, rhythm, and then you have to look for the axis. For the axis, we look at the one lead and the AVF. For one lead, we have to see if the lead 1 is showing the axis above and the lead AVF is also showing upward deflection. It means it is normal axis. If the lead 1 and AVF doesn't show the upward deflection, then you have to see is the lead 1 is upward and AVF is downward. It means it is left axis. If the lead 1 is downward and AVF is upward, it is right axis. So if you know the axis, you can tell if it is right axis deviation or left axis deviation. There are different pathologies that are responsible for right axis deviation and the left axis deviation. Then you have to look at the P to R interval. P to R interval is very important. It normally is 0.1 to 0.2 seconds. That is small 3 boxes to 5 boxes. 3 small boxes to 5 small boxes is the P to R interval that start from the start of P wave to the start of QRS complex. Once you know the normal P to R interval, then you can see that if the PR interval is same in each and every lead and it's falling in the 3 to 5 small boxes, then it is normal. If it is more than 5 small boxes, that is more than 1 large box or more than 5 small boxes, it means the PR interval is prolonged. Then you have to look for the heart block. Then there are further degrees of heart block: 1st degree heart block, 2nd degree heart block, and 3rd degree heart block. If the heart PR interval is prolonged, it means the signals and electrical current is not going from the sinus node to the AV node. There is a delay in the conduction. Then you have to look at the QRS complex. QRS complex is normally is equal to 2 to 3 small boxes. If it is more than 2 to 3 small boxes, it means the patient is having wide complex QRS. If the patient is having different arrhythmias, then we categorize it based on this QRS complex width, if it is narrow complex tachycardia or wide complex tachycardia. Then we have to look at the T wave. If the T wave is of normal shape and size, it means the patient is having normal repolarization of the EC is showing normal repolarization of the ventricles. If the T wave is tall tented, it means the patient is having hyperkalemia. We can further check it by the serum electrolyte levels. If the T wave is flat or the T wave is inverted, it means there is hypokalemia. You can further check it by serum potassium level. Normal potassium level is 3.5 to 5.5. If it is less than 3.5, it is hypokalemia. If it is more than 5.5, it is hyperkalemia. So in this way you have to see. Then it comes the ST segment. ST segment is normally flat. It is at the same level as the P wave and the PR interval. If the ST segment is not flat, then there is something that's going with the patient. Normally QRS complex ends at a point we call J point. The point where QRS complex is ending, we call it J point, and if J point is elevated from the isoelectric line, it means there is ST elevation. Normally there is 1 millimeter, 1 small box elevation the limb leads and 2 small box elevation of the J point and the anterior limb leads and the chest leads, and to categorize it as the ST elevation MI. For ST depression, the J point is below the isoelectric line of 0.5 mm, then it is ST depression MI. ST depression shows that the subendocardium is not having enough blood supply. There is ischemia of subendocardium. And ST elevation shows the whole myocardium is not receiving blood and the patient is having ST elevation myocardial infarction. So these are basics you must know about the ECG if you are any student, if you have started your career in the medicine. Thank you.